vibrating even before the icons popped up. It was the Apple logo, and my phone was just like, like, what the hell? And then when I turned it on, it was just notifications everywhere. I was like, oh man, did Michael Jackson die again? What happened? What is going on? Because every app was going crazy. It was like iMessage, bling, 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 WhatsApp, blah, 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 Twitter, da, 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 Instagram, blah, blah, blah. Even Uber Eats was like, yo, you got some hot shit coming in, man. And I went to my messages, and everyone I've ever known in my life had texted me. From kindergarten teachers onwards. Trevor, oh my God, are you okay? Trevor, where are you? What's happening? Did you see? Trevor, call me. Yo, don't call me. Call me, Trevor. What's happening? Trevor, did you see? And then one person was like, oh my God, did you see what Trump said? And I was like, what did Trump say? What did Trump say this time? Oh boy, let me check. What did Trump say? Me? Yeah, it hits different when you're in the crosshairs, I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty crazy. I hosted The Daily Show for 7 years, and for 7 years, we covered news and politics in America, right? Because that's what the show is. And in that time, Donald Trump was in the news and politics all the time, and so I was gonna tell you some jokes about me playing pickleball. And yeah, life happened. For those who don't know how it came to be, I'll try and tell you how it unfolded. I was hosting the Grammy Awards. It was a good time, a really good time. And then it wasn't. I hosted the show, had to catch a flight back to the East Coast to come and do shows, right? And I don't connect to the Wi-Fi whenever I'm traveling. I just like to relax. And landed in Boston. And the first time I knew my life had changed was when someone walked past me on the plane as I was packing my laptop bag, and he just held me on the shoulder and he's like, Trevor, you fight. You got this. Fight. Come on, you got this. It's like, did I look like I was struggling that much? Walking through the airport, people were giving me random thumbs ups of support. Like, yeah, come on, you got this. Yeah, hey, yeah. Except black people. Black people were like, hey, man. And then I turned on my phone. And honestly, I thought the thing was malfunctioning. He didn't, which I was happy about. I was like, great. You know, and then I left The Daily Show, and I relaxed like an idiot in a horror movie. And I went off and started hosting the Grammys. And I was like, this is delightful. It's a music show. So much more chill. Turns out the president watches the Grammys. Yeah, and he was not happy. Was not happy at all. No, he had written a post, a lengthy post, giving me a Google review of my performance. And it wasn't like a flyby. It was like a full-on. Said, I'll read the full thing to you because I don't want to misquote anything. I'll read you. This is what I saw when I searched my name and his. It was a post on Truth Social from @RealDonaldTrump. Fun aside, Donald Trump owns Truth Social, so it's a little weird that he doesn't have @DonaldTrump. It's weird that somebody else got it and then he was like, fine, real Donald Trump. Anyway, this is what the message read. The Grammy Awards are the worst! Every time I shout, it's because the word is in all caps. I'm trying to give you a feeling of what I was experiencing, all right? Virtually unwatchable. So some parts were good. CBS is lucky not to have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. The host, Trevor Noah, that's all of us. My history's terrible now, I've realized. Because they record everything that is said at the White House. It is kept for posterity. All right? So that means in like 300 years, there'll be scholars studying old presidents and the White House, and they'll be like, what was it like 300 years ago? You're like, I don't know, but the Grammys host was terrible. Yes, a total loser, apparently. And a bunny was performing at the Super Bowl. Also terrible. Absolutely terrible. What a time. You know, the weird thing about living through history is it's so much less predictable when you are the one doing it. Like, when you read history or when we're taught history, it is often presented as if it was inevitable. You read the stories, you assume that is how they would have always ended because that's how they ended. Like, if I asked most people, do you think the Nazis will always lose the war? They'd be like, yeah, of course the Nazis would always lose the war. And yet at the time, the people who were fighting the war thought that the Nazis were going to win. There was a moment when it seemed like it was in their favor. When you're in history, it's a completely different gambit. Like, whenever I'm in Washington, D.C., I like to go and visit the National Museum of African American History and Culture. And if you've never been, let me tell you, it is one of the most profound experiences you will ever have in your life. It is a museum unlike any other I've ever been to, for a few reasons. You know, one is it is as complete a telling as is possible of Black history in America, which is history. But it's a history that's often not told, right? And you go to this building, and unlike other museums, you can't just choose your own adventure. You know, normally you walk in a museum and then it's like, what do you want to do, dinosaurs or space? You pick. There, they curate your moving through time. And so when you get to the museum, you start at the very beginning of Black people in America, and then it moves all the way through to the present day, right? And so it starts underground, literally, you go underground, and then it starts with slavery, spoiler alert. And then they move you through time, and then you get to the end, and then there's Oprah. That museum truly, like, it'll make you ask every question of yourself. I was there on my most recent trip, and I was walking through the beginning level, and it's underground, and it's chattel slavery, the transatlantic slave trade, and then the Underground Railroad. And so it's conundrums of life. How much of the big do you focus on, and how much of the small do you pay any heed? It was captured perfect for me. There was an exchange that I saw online between two people. Someone posted, just graduated, really excited, got straight A's, party at my house, everyone's invited. Right? It was a joke, obviously, not everyone, because of the internet, not everyone's invited. And then people started posting, and then someone jumped in the comments and was like, really? Throwing a party at a time like this? Read the room, look around you. Is now the time to be celebrating? This is not the time to throw parties when we're at it. And it was this whole thing, and then it devolved into a huge fight. And I'll be honest with you, I could actually see where both people were coming from. Emotionally, I got it. On the one hand, someone was saying, how can you throw a celebration at a time when it feels like the world as we know it has fallen apart? How can you be joyous when it looks like every norm and institution we have understood that makes up the fabric of society is falling apart? Our public trust is falling apart. Our trust in each other is full. How can you throw a party? But the other person was saying, how can I not? I have lived and worked my entire life to get to this place. I have finally achieved it against all odds. And so for this moment, I wish to enjoy. And both are right, right? Both are right. In every hospital around the world, there's a ward where a baby has just been born and another where somebody has just died. Jubilation at the start of a new life. Despair at the loss of someone you've always loved. Neither ward incorrect. But then which one do you focus on? I got an answer for myself in one of the most random places. I was reading a book. There was accounts from soldiers who served during World War I. And they're talking to veterans who had been there at the time. And this book goes through their experiences. And a lot of them talk about the trench warfare, which was some of the worst warfare man has ever invented. Right? When it went on for years and years and years, and these soldiers would cycle in and cycle out. Every day could have been their last. And in the midst of all of this despair, there's one common thread that you see with every single soldier that they speak to, almost every single one. And that is that they found their joy in the trenches. They have these moments where they host card games and they play around. They had a satirical newspaper that they started. And they'd make jokes about their commanding officers and what was happening in the war and each other. And one of the wildest things I read was there was a day when a cow walked into the battlefield. So it was in no man's land. It was perfectly between the Allies and the Axis. And it was like both sides wanted the cow. And then they shouted across to the Germans and they said, "We want the cow." And then the Germans were like, "No, we want the cow." And then they agreed. They said, "Okay, let's play a game. We'll throw up coins in the air and we'll try to shoot them. Whoever hits the coin gets to keep the cow." And then the English soldiers shot the coin. And then the Germans were like, "Okay, you win the cow, but we'd like our coins back." And then the English soldier went, got the coins, and was like, "Oh, they're going to kill me." And then got the coins, and then gave them to the Germans, and then ran back and got in the trenches. And then everyone was like, "Fun game." It's littered with stories. There were stories of soldiers singing to each other. On evenings, randomly, they would sing across enemy lines at the other soldiers, and the other soldiers would sing back. Can you imagine that? You're in a trench. Your feet are rotting. Everyone's tired, scared. In the midst of that, all of a sudden, someone's just like, "Say you." They found their joy in the trenches. And it hit me because it made me realize they remembered what they were fighting for. They were fighting to live. They weren't fighting to fight. If you forget what you're fighting for, then there's no point in fighting. You're fighting to be joyous. You're fighting to explore yourself. You're fighting to have adventures. You're fighting to laugh. You don't just fight to fight. You're fighting to live. Just because the big is happening doesn't mean that the small stops. My therapist told me that I am undateable. Yeah. In a session, and she just turned to me and she said, "Trevor, I think it is because you are undateable."